Hello and welcome to another Writer's Showcase, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Lord Captain Commander, and Dunn, and I am joined by a very excellent cadre of guests this afternoon. Sorry we started a tad late, but sorry, slept in. Weird night last night. Could be sick, maybe not. We'll see. Anyway, let's bring in the guests, starting with Mr. Noble Commando.
Last time we met, I was but a learner, but now I am the master.
I
wanted to say that because last time I was here, this was a fucking disaster, and I basically had the equivalent of my limbs getting cut off.
Mm-hmm.
It was very painful.
I went to sleep at about 3, woke up at 9:15, had to take out the trash, didn't go back to sleep for a couple hours, went back to sleep, and then and then woke back up at about 2:30. So, anyway, let's bring in Yuri.
And if you don't like it, no offense, but you have boring taste, and I don't want to be friends with you.
Howdy.
That clip is so funny.
Patrick Williams is a living meme, and at least he's kind of leaned into the fact that he's an idiot.
Unlike Replica.
Yeah, well, even then, Patrick still kind of thinks he's a credible filmmaker. So, he's actually made a feature film called Charles the Coconut. It's really stupid.
That sounds like something that could either be funny or like really pretentious and stupid.
Probably both. Anyway, let's bring in Valerian.
Shafka reagis anhan reagis andate.
Yep. All right, and let's bring in our. Sorry.
Sorry, I was muted. I muted myself because my phone had one. Anyway, I was just saying, damn right. I was just agreeing with Daenerys, and also I may or may not get a chance to actually read because I'm about to go to I'm about to have my lunch. So
you can go first then.
Well, let's see. Also, I've got a delivery. It's going to be coming up in like a couple of minutes.
You're such a character, Valerian.
Sorry?
You're such a character. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, well, yeah, that's all right.
We all love him dearly. The world would not be the same without him.
Clear, I was expressing affection.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. Where was I? So, yeah, because the whole point of, I thought the whole point of doing a Wednesday was that we would have it at a more reasonable time, like an hour ago would have been better. But
I apologize. I should have. I did a weird night last night. I didn't sleep well.
Well, yeah, you need to sleep. It's true.
Yeah. Well, let's bring in cameraman.
Not many people know that I am in fact the Kraken.
The Kraken?
I can tell by your profile picture.
Cool.
Also, in regards to what you were saying, also like you were talking about Patrick H. Williams before. What are your thoughts on movies about space wizards intended for children?
Oh, is that the guy who said that?
Oh.
Yeah, he is mentally deficient in many respects.
Oh no.
Well, it is a movie about space wizards intended for children's house. He's not wrong.
Well, it's intended for a general audience. It's intended for anyone to enjoy. It's supposed to be universal. Like, that's the power of a story like that, is that it. Never mind. That's a conversation for another time that we don't have time for.
Yeah, don't mind me. Just the waking up at 9 to take out the trash, then going back to sleep at 12. Quite the crew here today, I see. Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of people in the chat here to see what happens.
Well, yes, Trip. No story is ever universal because feminists will always find, or feminists and SJWs will always find a reason to hate it.
Well, there's always stuff like Citizen Kane, which by many standards is quite dry watching.
I still need to watch that for my understanding of filmmaking.
It's an interesting film, a very weird film. Even for today, it would be weird. It was really weird back then.
I see. Yeah.
Oh, Chip was amused by that. Yeah.
Oh,
extreme.
No wonder we don't get along.
I feel oppressed right about now.
Amelia, she's not fourth wave, she's second or third wave.
And I enjoy things that would blow your mind. That's true.
Probably.
Oh, pardon me. Oops, sorry.
Your frame of reference.
Well, Trip, if it makes you feel better, the story I wrote is about two, I guess, empowered women that have agency in the story. Blah 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 blah. Insert buzzwords here.
I love you, Noble. Never change.
Thank you.
What did you say? I missed it. No, feminists do not tend to get along with misogynists. Oh, okay. No comment.
I was thinking chauvinist, but that also works too.
Nice weather we're having. A little rain, do you think? This is going to be
Alrighty, so Blurrin, you said you had a time constraint.
Yeah, I may or may not be able to get on later today. I have to.
Yeah, my apologies. I tried to wake up, but I just wasn't able to.
Well, you need your sleep.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. In the meantime, we can amuse ourselves listening to what the other people have to say.
Alrighty. So you want to wait for a bit. While you eat, correct?
Yeah, I might be ready in an hour.
Okay. All right, Noble, Yuri, cameraman, you guys go first.
Women are great so long as they are tomboys and know their place.
This is referring to my attraction to tomboys. We're not going to talk about this. This is a little bit too heavy. We're talking about writing, and whether or not it's good. So let's talk about that. Yes, who wants to go first?
This is going to be, what's the word I'm looking for? Not deranged. When things get off track. There's a word.
Yeah, we've already been here for 10 minutes. Let's get on with it.
All right.
Was it?
Alrighty, Noble, you can go first.
Okay. So I sent everybody in the document. In the private chat, I sent everyone a copy of the script I wrote, as well as a reference sheet of images of guns and cars used in the story. So actually, if because I remember people complained last time that, oh, Noble, we don't know what the fuck an M1911 is. We don't know what Ford Mustang GT V8 manual transmission is with blah 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 blah. So yeah, that's why I provide references, images, That's why I provided reference images so you know what you guys are talking about. So yeah, I provided those. Anyway, I also wrote my story in screenplay format because I'm just like I think that's something I understand better than and what is it called, in prose literature, whatever. So without further ado, I will get into this. So interior diner day. Three gangsters sit together at a table eating breakfast while quietly chatting. The first gangster is wearing jeans and a gray hoodie. I'm sorry, not gray hoodie, gray sweatshirt. The second gangster is dressed in black and is wearing a beanie. And the third gangster is slightly overweight and is wearing a brown jacket and glasses. Gangster 1. So, Jimmy, you got any more? Gangster 2. No, the rest went to Loco. Gangster 1. So, are you getting restocked anytime soon? Gangster 2. Nah, it was a one and done deal. Gangster 1. That's bullshit. You have to get more. This stuff is too good for a one and done. Gangster 2. Sorry, no can do. While the first two gangsters argue, two women sit at a table behind them, eavesdropping on their conversation. Ruby Jane, a 26-year-old red-haired woman wearing a green plaid shirt, and Mia Washington, a 22-year-old blonde woman with tan skin wearing a leather jacket. Mia Washington, do you think they mean Ocho Loco? Ruby Jane, it's possible given what we know about these guys. Mia Washington, what about that big guy? Does he match the photos? Jane looks over Mia's shoulder to get a better look at the third gangster. Ruby Jane, there's no mistaking it. Jane smiles and waves at the third gangster flirtatiously. The third gangster nervously smiles and waves back. All right. Gangster 3. Hey guys, I think that chick is checking me out. Gangster 1. Ignore the bitch. The waitress gives them their bill, and the first gangster stands up and puts their $40 on the table. Gangster 1. We're leaving without you. Tell the waitress she could keep the change. As the first two gangsters get up and leave the restaurant, Mia stands up from the table and walks towards the ladies' room. Once gone, Jane wags her finger towards the third gangster with a seductive smile. The third gangster happily gets up from his seat and sits with Ruby. I'm messing this up. Let's see. Ruby Jane. Howdy, partner. I'm looking for a man named Randy Anderson. Gangster 3. That's me. Wait, how do you know my name? Jane pulls an ID card from her shirt pocket, identifying her as a bond agent named Janet Smith. Ruby Jane. Let's just say the court wants to see the money you owe them. Anderson reaches for his Ruger pistol, but Mia stops him by pointing her own Sig Sauer P226 at the back of his head while holding her bounty hunter license in her other hand. Mia Washington. Move and I blow your fucking brains out. Gangster 3. Shit. Exterior, Department of Justice. Day. Establishing shot of Mia's green 1971 Plymouth Cuda parked in front of the Department of Justice building. Cut to interior, Paul Adams' office. Day. Mia and Jane meet up with their lawyer, Paul Adams, in his office to collect their bounty and their next assignment. Paul Adams. Excellent work, ladies. However, I have received word that you put one of the gang members in the hospital when you tried to run him over. Mia Washington. He tried to attack us, so I gave him a little love tap. I didn't try to run him over. Paul Adams. Well, your little love tap shattered his leg and put him in the hospital, and his medical bill is coming out of your pocket. Maybe you won't be so reckless next time. Ruby Jane. So there's another assignment for us. Paul Adams. Well, you're in my office, so clearly. Adams slides a folder over his desk with a mugshot of a man with dark hair, dark eyes, and a goatee. Paul Adams. His name is Carlos Fuentes. He's a drug dealer who works for the Ocho Loco cartel. He got a bounty last month on charges of suspected possession of methamphetamines. Mia Washington. So you're giving us another easy job. Paul Adams. Considering how well your last easy job went, I think this will be a perfect fit for you two. The folder has his personal information, including his residential address. You two are dismissed. Exterior, Fuentes' house. Day. Mia pulls up next to a single-story, single-bedroom brick house in the CUDA. The two girls get out of the car and inspect the house. Ruby Jane. Well, this looks like a cheap dump. This must be the right place. The two girls walk to the front door. Jane knocks, but there is no answer. Mia Washington. Fuentes, are you in there? Open the door. Ruby Jane. Don't shout. He's probably not home. Mia Washington. Great. This was a huge waste of our time. Let's go look somewhere else. Ruby Jane, we can still search his home for clues that can help us find out where he is. Mia Washington, do you think a drug dealer is stupid enough to leave his front door unlocked? Jane opens the front door without any effort as Mia watches with a shocked expression. Mia Washington, I guess he is an idiot. Interior, Fuentes' house. Day. Mia and Jane step into the house and find that the room is filled with stacks of DVDs and magazines. As the girls inspect the stacks, they discover that all of them are adult videos and nudie mags. Mia Washington. It's all porn. Ruby Jane. I can clearly see that. Try not to touch yourself. All right. Mia rolls her eyes in disgust. Jane checks the phone, but for the voicemail box is empty. Jane finds a note in the trash and it mentions the name Benjamin Brown. Mia Washington, shouting from in the bedroom. Hey, Jane! This girl kind of looks like you. Interior, Fuentes' bedroom. Day. Jane's face turns red as she runs into the bedroom and finds Mia holding up a pinup calendar. Jane snatches the calendar from Mia while trying to hide her embarrassment. Ruby Jane, give me that. Jane looks at the calendar. There was a photo of a nude red-haired woman lying face down on the rug with her head and feet in the air and a clear shot of her breasts and ass. Jane sighed with relief, realizing it wasn't actually her. Then she noticed something odd about the calendar. Ruby Jane. Hey, Mia, what's today's date? Mia Washington. I think it's the 21st. Ruby Jane. Look at this. The last 12 days on this calendar are blank. When Mia looks at the calendar again, she noticed that the last 8 days are... Sorry. When Mia looks at the calendar again, she noticed that the last day that crossed off was March 8th. Mia Washington. Do you think this guy... Mia Washington. Do you think this is the kind of guy to keep up with his calendar? Ruby Jane. Maybe not, but I found a note in the trash mentioning a man named Benjamin Brown. Mia Washington. Looks like we have answered. Sorry. Mia Washington. Looks like we found a lead. Let's go find some answers. Cut to interior, Plymouth Cuda, day. The girls discuss the case in the car. Mia Washington. Now we know what we're looking for. You just need to know where to look for it. Yeah. Ruby Jane. Those amateur crooks were talking about Loco's stock. Mia Washington. We did just put Anderson behind bars. Let's go pay him a visit. All right. Mia puts on her aviator sunglasses and turns on the ignition. The Cuda's engines roar to life as the car drives off. Interior, police station, day. Mia and Jane speak with Randy Anderson in the visitation room with glass barrier between them. Ruby Jane, what do you know about Carlos Fuentes? Randy Anderson, not much. He's a drug dealer for Ocho Loco. Heard rumors that he disappeared recently. Ruby Jane, who is Benjamin Brown? Randy Anderson, never heard of him. Ruby Jane, surely you have friends who know, right, honey? Randy Anderson, well, I guess they'll help out a smoking a babe. My partner Jimmy knows Carlos, and they sometimes make deals. Mia Washington, where is he? Randy Anderson, I could tell you the address if you help me out about by putting a good word at the hearing. Ruby Jane, done. Thank you for your cooperation. Cut to exterior duplex day. Kuda parks in front of a small duplex, and the two girls exit the vehicle. Ruby Jane, this looks like the right place. Mia Washington, how do you know he wasn't lying to us? Ruby Jane, I trust this guy as much as you do, but it's not like we have much of a choice. Mia Washington, right, let's get this over with. Jane knocks on the door of one of the houses. The door opens, revealing Jimmy Lincoln, the second gangster they encountered at the diner. Jimmy Lincoln, what do you want? Wait! You're the bitch who put Harvey in the hospital! Mia Washington, we want to know where Carlos Fuentes is. Jimmy Lincoln, you've got some nerve showing up here after what you did to my friends. Mia Washington, just tell me where Fuentes went. Jimmy Lincoln, I don't know. I haven't seen him in a month. Now go fuck yourself. Jimmy tries to slam the door in Mia's face, but Mia pushes it open, knocking Jimmy to the ground. Mia Washington, you're asking for it now, punk. Mia picks up Jimmy by the collar and prepares to beat him into a pulp when Jane intervenes. Mia, go wait in the car. Let me handle this bad boy. Mia Washington sighs. Fine, do it your way. Mia lets go of Jimmy, then makes her way back to the Cuda. Jane walks to the door and closes it behind her. Ruby Jane, I'm sorry about Mia. She's always been difficult. Jane presses her body against Jimmy and wraps her arms around him. Ruby Jane whispering into his ear, why don't you and me spend some quality time together? All right. Interior, Jimmy's bedroom, night, cut to interior, Jimmy's bedroom, night. Overhead view of Ruby Jane and Jimmy Lincoln lying in bed next to each other after sex with the covers over their naked bodies. Jimmy Lincoln, wow, you're like a professional at this. Ruby Jane, who said I wasn't? Now, tell me, who is Benjamin Brown, and why would Fuentes want to kill him? Jimmy Lincoln, right. Benjamin's my old chemistry teacher. I don't know why Fuentes would want anything to do with him, though. Ruby Jane, does he still teach? Jimmy Lincoln, he works at the high school up on Red Pine. Ruby Jane, what does he look like? He's in his 50s now. Jimmy Lincoln. He's in his 50s now, mustache, glasses, wears awful khakis. You can't miss him. Ruby Jane. Well, thank you for your help, but unfortunately I have to go now. Take care, love. Jane gets up from the bed and picks up her clothes and Colt Python. Jimmy Lincoln. Will I ever see you again? Jane begins getting dressed. Ruby Jane. Maybe if you're lucky. Cut to exterior street outside Jimmy's house. Night. All right. Jane walks to the door. Jane opens the door of the Cuda and slides into the passenger seat while Mia listens to classic 1960s rock music. Mia looks over to Jane, then turns off the car radio. Mia Washington sighs. It took you long enough. Did he tell you anything? Ruby Jane, he told me that Benjamin Brown was his high school science teacher. Mia Washington. Looks like we're going back to school tomorrow. All right, cut to interior, Jimmy's bedroom, night. Jimmy watches the two bounty hunters drive off in the CUDA, then reaches for his cell phone. Jimmy Lincoln. Hey, Ben, it's me, Jimmy. The cops are on to you. These two chicks came to my house asking questions about you. Keep an eye out for a butch blonde and a slutty redhead driving some vintage-looking sports car. Jimmy hangs up the phone. Interior, Plymouth CUDA, day. Mia Washington and Ruby Jane sit inside the CUDA, waiting at the school parking lot, with the windows rolled down, using so the girls can use them as armrests. Mia Washington, something isn't right. Jimmy told us everything about Brown, but he didn't tell us anything about Fuentes or why he would want to kill Brown. Ruby Jane, it is possible that Brown knows why Fuentes is after him. Mia Washington, but why would Fuentes and Brown even know each other to begin with? None of this makes any sense. Ruby Jane, wait, I see him leaving the building. I'm gonna go talk to him. A man who matches Jimmy's description of Brown walks out the front door. Mia Washington, you do that. I'll wait here and keep the engine idle in case he tries to make a run for it. I have a bad feeling about this. Ruby Jane, I don't think that'll be necessary. This won't take long. Jane opens the door and steps out of the vehicle. Exterior, high school parking lot, day. Jane walks up to Benjamin Brown as she makes his way to his as he makes his way to his car. Excuse me, sir. Are you Benjamin Brown? Brown looks over to Jane, and his face turns to panic as he realizes that Jane is one of the girls who is looking for him. He picks up his pace and gets into his 2004 Oldsmobile Bravada. All right, Ruby Jane. Wait, I just need to talk to you. As Brown drives off in his Bravada, Mia pulls up next to Jane in the CUDA. Mia Washington, get in. We're going after him. All right. Jane quickly opens the door and jumps in, then closes it just as fast. Ruby Jane, he's gonna get away. Mia Washington, not if I have anything to say about it. Mia shifts the car into first gear, then slams on the gas as hard as she can. All right. Exterior, suburbs, day. The CUDA quickly catches up with the Bravada with its bigger and more powerful engine and is able to keep pace. At first, both cars obey traffic laws and speed limits, but when Brown starts to speed up and drive more aggressively when he looks in the rear view mirror and finds the CUDA is on his tail. Mia Washington. This man thinks he can outrun me. Well, two can play at this game. Mia shifts into second gear and floors the gas pedal. The CUDA's engines roar as the vehicle accelerates. The CUDA starts gaining ground on the Bravada, but the Bravada makes a 90-degree left turn at 50 miles per hour. The Bravada isn't able to turn. However, the Bravada isn't able to turn fast enough, and the front right tire runs over the curb, but only taking minor damage to the front suspension. Mia reacts by stepping on the brakes to slow the car down, as she makes the same turn without damaging her vehicle. Mia Washington, how's he still going after he hit the curb at that speed? Realizing that he can't lose the CUDA in the suburbs, Brown takes his Bravada onto the highway to get rid of his pursuers. Mia Washington. He thinks he's taking the highway. Doesn't he know that my CUDA was built to go fast on long straights like this? Exterior, highway, day. Mia follows the Bravada onto the highway. Both cars reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour. But the more powerful CUDA is able to gain ground on the slower and heavier Bravada. As the CUDA catches up with the Bravada and approaches Brown from the right, Brown tries to ram the CUDA with the rear end of his vehicle. Mia pushes the brakes and turns to the side to avoid getting hit. Brown tries to hit her again from the other side, but Mia uses the same maneuver to evade. Ruby Jane. Careful, Mia. Mia Washington. Well, it's not my fault this old fuck is trying to kill us. Alright. Knowing he can't outrun the Cuda with speed, Brown takes the exit leading into the city. Interior Plymouth Cuda, day. Ruby Jane. He's trying to lose us. Mia Washington. He'll be boxing himself into a corner. Alright. Exterior, city, day. The Cuda follows the Bravada into the city, even though Mia has to slow down to avoid oncoming traffic. She's still able to keep up with the Bravada. Brown tries to lose the Cuda by taking a right turn at the intersection. The damaged front dampener breaks under pressure, causing Brown to lose control of the Bravada. Pedestrians run out of the way as the Bravada slams into a brick wall. Benjamin Brown opens the door and falls out of the car. He crawls away from the wreckage, cutting himself on bits of broken glass. He doesn't make it far. He doesn't make it very far before Mia Washington and Ruby James stop him in his tracks. Yes. Mia Washington. Nowhere left to run, Benjamin Brown. Benjamin Brown. You girls don't look like normal cops. Ruby Jane. We're not cops. We're bounty hunters. We're looking for a man named Carlos Fuentes. We thought you might know where he is. Benjamin Brown. He's dead. Mia Washington. Dead? What do you mean he's dead? How would you even know that? Benjamin Brown. It was me who killed him. Ruby Jane. Start from the beginning. How did you and Fuentes get involved with each other? Benjamin Brown. Jimmy talked me into making meth for him to sell to, so I could afford cancer treatment for my lung cancer. So Jimmy talked me into making meth for him to sell so I could afford treatment for my lung cancer. He sold most of it to Fuentes. Ruby Jane. What made Fuentes want to kill you? Benjamin Brown. He got arrested before he could sell the meth, so he tried to take the money back that we made from selling the drugs to him. Yeah. That's not what it says, whatever. Mia Washington. So you killed him? Benjamin Brown. I lured him into my trailer and poisoned him with phosphine gas. Mia Washington. What did you do with the body? Benjamin Brown. I dissolved the body in acid. I accidentally burned a hole in my floor. Let's see. Mia Washington. Well, that's great. Our bounty's fucking dead and we don't even have a body. Let's see. Ruby Jane. We still have Benjamin Brown to worry about. Mia Washington. We might be able to get a reward for turning him into the police. Ruby Jane. So all you can think about is money right now. Sorry, is money all you could think about right now? Mia Washington. He's a criminal, and catching crooks like him is our job. Ruby Jane doesn't have a bounty, Mia. The police will be on their way to investigate the crash. The best we can do is explain what happened and let the law decide his fate. Well, this was a huge waste of time. Not long after, the paramedics and the police arrive up to the crash. Me and Jane explain the situation to a bald male police officer. Male cop. Are you ladies okay? Do you need medical attention? Mia Washington. We're fine, but this gentleman is bleeding. Mia Washington points to Benjamin Brown. Male cop. How did you girls get involved? Mia Washington. We're bounty hunters, and we wanted to question this man to help find our latest bounty. We chased him through the town because he tried to run from us. Mia shows the officer her license as he writes what Mia said in his notepad. Male cop. Is this man the bounty you ladies are looking for? Me and Washington. No, he's just someone who got caught up in this mess. Male cop. Understood. You ladies are free to go. Stay out of trouble and good luck finding your bounty. Police officer puts his notepad away and walks back to his patrol car. Mia and Jane watch as the paramedics put Brown onto a stretcher and roll him onto the ambulance. Once he's inside, the paramedics close the back door and drive Brown to the hospital. Ruby Jane. So what do you think will happen to Brown? Mia Washington. It's hard to say. He might up serving prison time, but I don't think there's enough evidence to convict him of anything. Ruby Jane. It's kind of sad if you think about it. He risked everything he had just so he could get cancer treatment. Let's see. Mia Washington, why are you so concerned about him? He's a murderer and he was willing to kill us to save his own skin. Ruby Jane. I know, I just don't know what kind of person would risk throwing his whole life away. Sorry, I just don't know what kind of person would risk throwing away all the good things in his life just for a cure, rather than spending what time he had left with the people he loved. Mia Washington. He's just selfish, and he didn't care. Sorry, Mia Washington. Maybe he's just selfish and didn't care that he would be pushing his family away. Ruby Jane, that doesn't make sense. I think he cared about his life and he thought this was the only way to save it. Mia Washington. Either way, he revealed his true colors in the face of death. Ruby Jane. You could say that death is everyone's final test. Mia Washington. Sounds a bit cheesy, but you aren't wrong. End on Mia Washington and Ruby Jane getting back into the CUDA and driving off into the sunset. That's the end. Dear God, reading this out loud is a pain in the ass. Sorry that I am bad at presenting this and bad at reading out loud. I fucked up a couple lines. Some of the lines I just I didn't
Yeah, it's possible that we probably should have done a table read of some kind.
able.
I like the bit at the end where they are being reflective about it, though. That's good to have some degree of thoughtfulness.
Yeah, it
Right.
felt like- Go ahead.
Yeah, no, but
It's a little bit
no,
hard
I
to
added that
follow at
in because
times.
I actually added that in as filler because my rule was that I needed to fill 20 pages because 20 pages is 20 minutes. And last time I remember, everybody had 20 minutes to present, so that was my page limit, and I was under that page limit by about half a page. And so I thought, what would have something be like fill time that would also feel meaningful? So I had them reflect on what happened and kind of, question like Benjamin Brown. Is he a good person? Is he a bad person? Is he misguided? Blah, 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 blah. Have that little bit of a conversation a little bit about that. So you kind of have something to think about.
Adds a little bit of depth to it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Right. Yeah, I can kind of see that. That was kind of more of an assumption, but you're right. He probably you're right. He might be a loner who has nobody who loves him. I just kind of assumed that would, I don't know. But yeah, that's probably, you know what? That is actually a good point. That's kind of sloppy. I will figure out how to address that. Let's see it. Me and Brown. Get things. Let's see.
Yeah, the process that they use to figure it out. A little bit about the process that they use to figure things out.
Reflect their personality. I'm gonna be honest. Gangster. The let's see. I guess. Well, technically, I could put for Gangster 2 and 3 as Jimmy Lincoln and Randy Anderson, because that's their actual names. I just put their names as Gangster 1, 2, and 3 because that's just the way that's just the way I thought, that's just the way I would imagine they do it in screenplays. I would actually have to look up how they would do characters that don't have names.
Bikini gangster.
I did describe what they look like so that you can mentally catalog them.
Do one of them have a bikini, or did I make that up?
I made that up. There's no bikinis.
Bother.
Pretty sure there was a bikini. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been listening.
I think there was somebody that just made a joke in the chat about it.
Well, to be fair, like the way I don't know if I have a picture of it, like what it's supposed to look like, but the way like that Ruby Jane dresses, it's kind of supposed to be kind of like scantily clad because she's supposed to be the femme fatale and it's more seductive, so she's like dressed like more like revealing, and Mia's supposed to be more modest in comparison. So that's probably where you imagined that. I gave them like a very basic description of what they're wearing, rather than like going into all the little clothing pieces that they wear. I do have a kind of general idea of how they dress and what the mental like of what they look like in my head, but like that's a whole like other bit into character design, and I don't have any like character designs to show you yet. I do plan on commissioning an artist to actually draw these characters.
Cool. There's a comment from Ninja, yeah. Yeah, it might be easier to follow with more
Meteor scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Scenes with more.
So it's like every time that I tuned in, because like I have trouble focusing, somebody was getting into a car or out of a car. And it was like the same scene over and over again. So like,
well, to be fair, the information like of how they find this stuff is a bit scattered. I guess that's, and then they obviously are traveling from location to location, and so I wanted to maybe that is a bit redundant to show them. Like I don't know. To show a little bit, like, a little bit redundant of every fucking time they open the car door, every fucking time. I remember watching a guy called Possum Reviews, and he was reviewing a movie. It's like a Little Red Riding Hood movie, and he's complaining about how like don't draw out scenes too much, like don't have like show character walking all the way from one side of like a building to another. Just show them like where they like them leaving and then them getting into and so I tried to emulate that a little bit, but I guess the car, like, car door opens, car door closes, that kind of is a little bit of that problem. So I tried to show enough so you know where the fuck they were going and where the fuck, like, they're going somewhere. And I wanted to show, okay, so they're going somewhere, and I wanted to show that, but I didn't want to show them all like dry, like them like how they like walk all the way up to the building, like, oh yeah, they walk from the car to this building, blah 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 blah. Like that I didn't want to show that. I just wanted to show them getting out of the car, and then the next scene is and then the next scene is them like where they were walking to, there, whatever. That's kind of what I was trying to go for. Read slower. It's hard to follow. I should read slower.
It can be hard to do though.
Yeah, no, I agree, because I feel like that was a little bit. It was hard for even me to keep up, which is sometimes I would read a line, and that's not actually what the line would say, but I read it as that, just because I was trying to be fast. My throat is really dry. I should have had water. I'm gonna be honest. I should have been prepared. I was not.
You're
Always
fine.
bring water. Always bring water to these things.
You know what would make it better is not saying you should have done it later. Just like make a mental note and then do it. You know?
Right.
In regards to that thing, in regards to what you were saying, like you don't have to show everything or whatever.
Just do something interesting.
Zack Snyder called. He says, no, you gotta show everything so we can make it 4 hours.
No, but that's the thing, though. I only have 20 minutes. I can't make it 4 hours.
You've taken about an hour already.
I have?
This stream has been going on for 44 minutes. Yeah, like 40 minutes.
More like half an hour, yeah.
Close to half.
It took me half an hour to read that.
Yes.
Okay, well, let me explain something in screenplay format. Maybe this doesn't translate to reading it, but in screenplay, the rules of the reason why, like, so you set your font and your set like your margins a certain way. Like, so you set a certain font size at a certain. You're supposed to use Courier New, and what, like, using like 12-point font and Courier New is supposed to do, and like do this like certain margins. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to emulate like how long the screenplay will last. So 1 page roughly equals 1 minute, and that's why I wrote it that way. And I guess it just doesn't translate to me reading it out loud.
You did fine. You did fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
And the more confident you can make yourself be internally, the better you'll do. Like, I have trouble.
Right.
I struggle with.
I was really nervous
You did
because
fine.
I thought you guys were gonna rip me a new asshole again, and you guys were
No,
gonna say this
Tariq's
was
not here,
absolute
so-
shit.
No, it's not awful. Part of it is in the only criticism I really have is I don't really have a reason to be in. I would not say that I have a reason to be invested at this point. Is the only criticism I have.
Why not?
Well, I just don't care about Mia Washington or
Ruby Jane.
Or Ruby Jane. I don't get what the stake. I don't believe I know what the stakes are. I don't.
Well, this is like a
necess-
pilot episode. It's more just establishing them as characters and how they interact with each other and how
Mhm. Then
they-
I would. Yeah, I don't really have very much interest in them being bounty
Maybe if
hunters.
there's
I don't
something
get
about
why they're
Bex-
doing things.
Yeah, maybe if
I
they
don't
have backstories that are established.
I
Origin.
didn't establish that because remember, Dunn, I told you that Ruby Jane was an ex-porn star and you thought that was stupid. So I didn't want to like have that on screen mentioned on screen. But that's like that. But I did make a reference to that, like when Jimmy
I
says,
think that was
"Wow,
actually-
you're like a professional," just after they had sex, and then when she says, "Who says I'm not?" That's a reference to her previous job as a porn
That's a
star.
pretty good line. That's a good line, man. Like,
Yeah,
you got
I
get
thought that
some
was
good
actually
lines.
one of the things that you did pretty well.
That was amusing, yes.
The main thing is I don't see what their motivation is for doing anything that they're doing.
Ninja.
It's their job. They do it because money.
I feel like that,
Uh-huh.
like, here, like, I'm just gonna. Can I mind if I give my 2 cents on like writing advice, especially in regards to television? So, so with television, first impressions are everything. You need to make sure the audience is hooked in the first episode. You got to make sure that like this either is by setting up a setting, a storyline, a character, or like making the characters feel like people that you can be invested in, giving them a stake in what's going on and making them actually have motivations and a purpose. But I feel like that it has to be something that's set up in the first episode. You can't really just wait until later on to actually give them motivations.
Right.
One of the things that a lot of like worst TV shows fail at, especially in pilots, is that they wait a laboriously long time to actually get to the point, and they usually have the first episode be the equivalent to a filler episode.
Right. Maybe this was wrong on my assumption, but I assumed that the crime solving and the mystery hunting would be the draw of the show, and I thought that would be enough to carry it.
That's usually the thing. Like, usually crimes and mysteries can be a draw, but usually a lot of the reasons why a lot of other crime shows usually work is that they're sort of led by a solid cast of characters, like either the people solving the crimes or the people committing the crimes. Usually, like, the audience has a reason to be invested in them.
All right. I guess I don't know. Maybe I should look into that more because, believe it or not, Benjamin Brown, and this whole plot line is based off of Breaking Bad. Like, that's why Benjamin Brown's named Benjamin Brown. He's
and
Walter White.
Yeah, and he's also a high school teacher.
Yeah, he's a chemistry teacher. He
Are you gonna introduce Sam Badman?
No, the only characters that are a reference are the only That's also why Ocho Loco is Ocho Loco, because it's a reference to a character named Crazy 8.
What about what about James Redman? James Red. What
I
about
only wanted
Jamie
to do the
Redman?
first episode, the first few episodes of Breaking Bad. I did not want to do the whole cast. I just wanted to do what if Walter White got caught, and not because he got caught by the police, only by just oh, this kind of somewhat related investigation of trying to hunt a bounty so this guy can pay bail, for whatever, because they're bond agents. And so because Carlos Fuentes, who's supposed to be, I think Emilio is his name, he didn't pay bail and he got in trouble. He had meth on him, which he got that from Benjamin Brown. He stole the reason why he stole the money, it's not explained because I can't really explain it. There's no really good way to explain it, but the reason why I would hope that people would kind of draw the conclusion to is that he's trying to steal the money from Benjamin Brown because, hey, I need money to pay bail and I blow all my money on porn or something like that. That makes sense if you think about it. Oh yeah, that's something
I do like the I feel like that is sort of an interesting the fact the fact that this criminal isn't the Benjamin Brown isn't really caught by the police or by some investigation. It's because a completely unrelated thing just happened to circle back to him. I feel like that is a funny idea.
I did, yeah.
Speech. Trip suggests text to speech.
Text to speech.
It's apparently a feature in Word or something.
I'm using Google Docs.
Yeah, same.
Maybe it has the same thing.
Google Docs is free. I will use that. I did catch one. I did, when I was reading this, I did catch a few spelling or grammar mistakes, or not spelling, but a few grammar mistakes. Most of these I caught when I was from my first and second draft, because I did read it out loud. I just do it a little bit more naturally when I'm not, under pressure and nervous, and have more time to take my time and look through everything and have reread as many a sentence as many times as I want to make sure it feels natural and flows right. So yeah, characters not being engaged with them. Would you? I don't know. I that's a little bit concerning. I was a little. I don't know. I thought. So the way I did it, the way I was trying to do it, and maybe you could say this is stupid or this is wrong, is to try and make Mia Washington and Ruby Jane these kind of characters that are kind of different, and they have a lot of differences, but their differences are kind of complementary to each other, or they play off each other well. And so
I discussed your story for longer than you read it now.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, I get it, man. You've got some autism going on. I understand.
I do have autism.
No, I totally get what's going on. I don't know how to help you with it, but I know it's there.
There's also.
I was hoping to go to jiu-jitsu tonight, but probably not going to make it. So anyway.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right, brother.
So my advice would be to use something like White Collar or another show of that type where there is some kind of mystery element going on.
Or also, if you're trying to do a story a crime story about two characters who have differences, but they complement each other, you can just also watch literally any buddy cop movie.
That's kind of what I was trying to go off of. That's supposed to be the dynamic I was trying to go for.
Yeah.
I was kind of the kind of something similar that I kind of had this based off in my head. The closest thing that I'm familiar with is actually one of the main inspirations is Dirty Pair. The other is Gunsmith Cats. Those are my two inspirations for these two characters and their dynamic. Those are both anime, by the way, which I hope this also gets turned into an anime, this screenplay. That's my plans. That's what I want to do with it, is turn this into an anime and have this, or it be an American anime and be animated. in an anime style, and that would be awesome, and that'd be really cool. But yeah, no, I guess that's all I have to say about it. Do you guys have anything else to mention or add?
Well, if it is an anime, it'll hopefully be a better American anime than whatever the hell Crunchyroll tried to make.
Well, that's the thing. I don't try to shove my politics into it.
Yes, you're already a step above Crunchyroll. Cool, kudos.
Right. You know, because I could make this, like, I could easily make this, like, into, like, because it's so funny. One of my inspirations is Gunsmith Cats. Gunsmith Cats, the ending of it is basically like my entire political view, like in a nutshell. Like, oh, it turns out the bad guy was the government and the ATF this whole time. Who knew?
Everybody knows that now. Ever since 2020, everybody knows.
Yeah, this Gunsmith Cats was made in the 90s, but
Gunsmith Cat sounds based.
It is based. You should watch it. It's like the all 3 episodes are free on YouTube, both in subbed and in dubbed. You can
Anyway, anyway.
Yes. Next person. I've been taking up way too much time.
No. So, Valerian, how are you?
I'm still eating.
Okay, so we'll give Yuri and Cameraman. Which one?
I'll go.
Okay.
I'm excited to get to this. Well, excited maybe is a strong word. You remember my space thing, right? I decided I'm just gonna try and read chapter 3 to you guys and just see how it goes.
Of what? I'm sorry. What was it again?
My space thing, right? So the basic idea is there's a character named Ramadupa, and he like astrally projects himself into the future and then gets stuck there. This is chapter 3. And he's like waking up in somebody else's body, and there's like this, like, you know, it's like the science is mixed with like the shamanic stuff, and like the idea was to make like this sort of shamanic sci-fi.
Okay, that sounds frightening. I mean, waking up in someone else's body sounds frightening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't really lean into the body horror of it, but let's just see. I don't know what happens in this chapter exactly. I remember the whole story. And it's a bit of a trip, the story. But all right, so this is chapter 3, but it's like issue 13. I was releasing these on an old website called Newsvine that has since become defunct. But it was a cool website back when I was 20. Anyway, 13. Raul is standing over me. I am wearing clothes and laying in a bed. Everything is silk. Welcome back to the land of the living, Phil. Part of me responds to the name. Who's Phil? I feel like Philip K. Dick right now. Jesus God. I feel pretty good, actually. Aside from my circumstances, of course, I'm somehow physically in the future. Weird. Maybe the Mudangs have some kind of technology that they mix with their rites now. Maybe they got a bit of my DNA and cloned me a body from it. Oh, you're Phil. You just don't know it yet. Happy piano mouth. Dark complexion. Man, the guy can smile. He has some Sicilian in him, certainly. Probably some Hebrew, too. I think I'd know if I was someone else. Let me explain a bit further. I don't know the plans here, mind you, but according to your identifications, you're a lieutenant in naval intelligence. Probably pretty smart, too, I'd imagine. Have that rank at your age. How old am I? 20. Here, look for yourself. He tosses me some cards. I look at them. This is in English. What else would it be in? French? He mocks the word. I read them. Philip Carson Teague, Junior Lieutenant, UN Navy. And a picture of my face. It looks almost familiar. The hair is the same color. Blonde. Probably a Leo, too. No birthday. Oh, UN 509.714. So everything after the decimal covers the month and the day? Guess you're pretty smart, too. He's leaning against the wall near my bed, in almost the same pose he had when I first saw him. Something is a little different, though. He seems a little more put on. Or maybe that's Phil talking. Well, I do have a college degree. Sarcasm. But he doesn't respond with anything but a nod. Let's see. I was born in North America, Midwest region, Ohio State, Cleveland City. No way. I'm the second person I met today who's from Cleveland, other than myself, of course. Nobody's perfect. I'm done with the papers. I tucked them into my clothes. They may be useful at some point. I feel perfect. I'm sorting through what's going on. I can't quite make heads or tails of it, but it seems interesting enough. So I went from Bajans in Kerala to a Mumu on Mars. I brought this on myself. I can roll with it. The room is all paneled in fake wood. One kind on the walls, another kind on the floor. The silk is probably fake too. At least it's not polyester. So where exactly are we? Olympus Mons? Marianas Trench? My Martian geography is worse than my Earth geography, but not by much. Although, I guess settling the place and the polar shift and everything probably blow that all out the window. You're in Seoul settlement. It's one of the largest settlements. Like New Seoul? How many people? No, not New Seoul. Seoul settlement. They don't disclose the population. I'm lucky to be able to have my tuber with me. Tuber? He presses the switch on his wrist and a little white globe, about the size of a potato, floats down onto the sheets between my knees. What's it do? It tubes. He looks around for words. It makes recordings of everything around it so they can be referenced privately or edited for public viewing. How can you not know what this is? He's frustrated. So it's like a camera, I ask? Chimera? Chimera? How is it like a chimera? Well, it takes pictures. It doesn't splice anything. Anyway, are you rested enough to meet the crew and the Incheon Adjumanim? Colony married woman? Lucky I had cause to learn the word for colony, or I wouldn't look nearly as smart as I do right now. She runs the show. Well, it's about time I met someone who did. I stand up and stretch. New body takes a little getting used to. Say, where did my body come from? Well, there was a counter-terrorist expedition to the Sejong region. Byun Suk managed to get a nuke into the flagship. Raoul's a little upset over how to feel about this, I can tell. You and about 700 others were recovered from the wreckage. There were only 70 actual survivors. They were enslaved. The rest, your current host included, were harvested. He's not leaning against the wall now, and his tone shows his discomfort. We've got to be careful here. He hands me some elaborate clothes. Put these on. Well, you're a handsome man, aren't you? Benj beams at me, holding a wooden cup of tea, as Raoul leads me into the waiting room. Meet the crew, of which you are now a very special member. He sits on the floor in the center of a long rectangular table. Gesturing to his right, he says, "This lovely woman is my sister Venetia. Veni, this is the ball of smoke whom you poured tea for." He continues to talk, but I cease to listen. The largest part of me stirs itself into a cloud which covers everything. Everything but her face. Her chin comes out to a gentle peak. Her ears point slightly at their tips. Her hair is a stream of feather strands, the color of a sunset. Oddly, she has one black streak, black as midnight. Black as a midnight cloud in the wilderness, falling down her left side and brushing her cheek. Her eyes are a shade of blue I had thought was only possible in the fossilized eggs of birds long extinct. The robin is extinct, but I have seen the fossils, and her irises match their hue. Wait, no, I haven't. Robins are fine, but no, I suppose they died out during Armageddon. My vision falls into them like the pillows of a bed. But once in them, I see the world through them. I see myself, long folds of cloth flapping around me. All else fades. Venny! Ben nudges her, and she looks at him confused. Her brother, wild-maned and strong, laughs at her. Here I am singing your praises, saying you're smarter than any other woman in the world and capable. And you're sleeping with your eyes open. Now, do please say hi to Ramadupa. He's come a very long way. Her mouth is dry. I welcome you, Sri Ramadupa, into my world. That which creates me prostrates before that which creates you. A bit thick, but better. He looks to his left at a man sitting there in a crew cut. This is Fulgrim. Without him, I think I'd be dead. on one of the asteroids somewhere. You'd be dead on all of the asteroids somewhere, the man next to Fulgrim says amicably, bearing a black afro himself. I'm Belfour. Have a seat next to Rule. You don't need to keep standing. Yeah, fold it over in the back. He parts the cloth at his waist demonstrably, and you'll be able to sit down. I do so. So, how do you like the future? He pulls me a bowl of a very familiar white liquid, muckily. I find it, looking for the word, surprising. For one thing, everyone speaks English. I haven't been in a place where everyone speaks English since I was 20. You're 20 now, Raoul chimes in and pours some tea into a wooden cup for himself. Have some kimchi, made from ambrosia, like pretty much everything else here. Make you live forever, this stuff will. Just ask Nicola. You know, that guy's almost 400 years old. I pick up a pair of chopsticks and start going at the sides. It's nice to know some things do not change. What's ambrosia, I wonder? But I cannot care less. It's all I can do not to stare at Venetia. And that would be impolite. All right, this will be the last section. I ask, are you the picture of perfect health, wife of the colony? Benj says with a deep bow, he does not have to wear this ridiculous mess of zippers and buttons. He's still in his pirate costume. A woman in a simple traditional dress of black and white translates for him into Korean. Mikola stands next to Benj, very silent and Asian. Atop a black hemisphere, there is a middle-aged woman. She wears a yellow faded crimson dress, so strange, like an umbrella, coming over her arms all the way down below her feet. So there is no way to know what is happening under it. And one can only see her face between the sides of a very tall collar. When she speaks, it is almost completely inaudible. The translator says, may today's wars be successful. I'm sorry. May today's wars be peaceful. Yes, Benj bows again. We all bow. I'm standing with the rest of the group against the wall, and I'm damned glad of it. This whole thing makes me uncomfortable. Of course, now I have to keep myself from speaking to Venetia. It's a struggle. Christ. I took a vow of celibacy 3 years ago. I've never had this much libido. It's like I'm panting. Below the woman, there is a group of 5 men staying absolutely still, hands on swords, looking at us in wolf-like anticipation. None of their swords have an ivory hilt, or even a hint of human femurs, thank God. I am standing as far from Ulrich as I can. To express my thanks, I once again offer to return to you this ancient crown of your people, which time stole from you, and which the gods have blessed me to recover. One of the men I haven't met, Asian ancestry for sure, comes forward with a golden crown. It looks to be Sheila era, or at least I saw one almost identical to it in a museum in Kiev of all places, and that was Sheila era. The translator speaks in Korean. I can pick out a word here, there, some of the grammar. Not much. The pronunciation has changed as little as English as far as I am qualified to tell. She replies, this is a fine offer, and we like this very much, but we have no need of such things. It is too precious, and we cannot accept it. Please, please, I want you to take it. How many times must I offer you your own rightful property before you accept it? This is the 5th time Benj has offered this. It would be wrong for me to have it. Only Soul is worthy of such a priceless treasure. I could not take the shame of holding that which only Soul deserves. He takes the crown from the guy who has it and almost forces it into the translator's hands as he kneels before her. After being in his mind, I never thought I'd see him kneel. The translator looks stricken and speaks quickly. The response from the throne is almost loud enough for me to hear, and then the translator takes a crown saying, we thank you for this gift. May the friendship between Soul and Scavenger live forever. She left out the thee. I guess many things do not change with time. Ever gracious hosts, the Soul settlement has provided us with almost an entire dome to ourselves. It's an outermost ring. Apparently, there are 5 rings of domes. The elevator will take us to any of the others almost instantly. It makes it as though it was all one dome. I can't seem to get a handle on the actual size of the place, though. Sweet mother. You'd think the woman was Confucius herself. Benj lets out a sigh of relief and collapses into a sofa. Venetia rubs his shoulders. The decorations of the room are almost too Western. Almost a joke on what Western is. I'm looking for a sign which says, keep your shoes on. We don't take off our shoes in the house. Benj pours himself a stiff drink from a glass tumbler and puts his bare feet up on the coffee table. Well, that's done with. She's going to give us soldiers and vehicles, right, Cola? I can smell their sourness a little. The old man hums. Could he really be almost 400, or was Belfort playing with my nose? Well, the slowness of his talking makes me think I'll be 400 before he's finished. She'll definitely give something, maybe. I wonder if this is the Korean definite, maybe, or the English display of uncertainty, maybe. He is using it as a placeholder while he thinks. So maybe it really means maybe. Maybe it will have to be enough, he says with a great finality. Anything will be enough, so long as it gets us there. Belfour yelps from the floor. All right, so that was issue 13. Got through.
That's it?
Yeah, it's the whole thing. This is only 16 minutes, 17.
All right. I'm gonna be honest. I don't really have much to say because I don't know what was said. I don't know chapter 1, so me commenting on. I feel like I have a hard time commenting on a lot of this. It did seem interesting though. It's not like the other stories that I remember on Writer Showcase, where most of it just didn't appeal to me. It did seem like there was some interesting stuff going on. My one critique that I will complain about is why the fuck in the future are fucking soldiers wielding swords?
Because they're inside a
Warhammer.
atmosphere.
His Warhammer / Dune.
Because they're inside a pressurized atmosphere. You don't use projectiles in a spaceship.
Oh, they're in a spaceship. See, I didn't know that.
Well, no, they're on a settlement on Mars, but it's like still like projectiles are. That was my thinking at the time, and I my tone is like
funny?
Duh, but it's you make the point. But
It's funny because I actually thought of because I still after I finish Bond Girls, which is the little Mia Washington, Ruby Jane story. After I finish that, I think my next project is going to be tackling science fiction, and one of the factions is based off of the Japanese, and they're like based off of samurai.
Okay,
and stuff.
yeah. No, I get where you're. Okay, you are. Actually,
Yeah, and so they wield katanas because that's cool. Well, but why do they wield katanas? And it's specifically for their boarding parties because they're really good at naval combat, and so rather than destroying enemy ships, they board the enemy ships and capture them, and because they don't want to puncture walls and destroy a pressurized atmosphere, they use swords in close quarters. It would work in close quarters because it's not like you have to shoot people at long distances inside a spaceship. So that was my justification, but they would still use guns on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, there's like guns and stuff, but like the sword thing, I don't know. I just thought it was cool. It was like 10 years ago I wrote this. There's one thing that probably so one thing that got skipped over in the stuff that I skipped over. Ulrich is a Martian, and Martians are like a special thing of their own, where they're people that through cannibalism and weird spiritual practices are able to walk on the surface of Mars without they eat each other. It's a weird thing, and it gets explained, but it makes everybody uncomfortable, which is I don't know.
Oh, trust me, I'm very familiar with making people uncomfortable.
Yeah, I can imagine.
You're also familiar with entertaining people with rather amusingly odd takes, like Mad Max Fury Road is a bad movie.
Okay, yes, but I admitted that my opinion and my take on what's it called was wrong.
All right, you're feeding into it right now, Don. All right, who paid attention to my story and has cameraman? Valerian?
I think there were some good stuff in there. I like the character interaction stuff. but I think there were a couple of odd lines, like "never had so much libido." I was like,
He's
that
very
isn't-
horny.
that
His
was
horny
amusing.
levels are.
That was amusing.
It was amusing, but it was very odd.
I just imagine like a boner, like a fucking 10-foot long boner, just.
That's why I got all the loose clothing. But yeah, no, it's like you get into a new body, and like you go from being like in your 30s to being 20. You know, it's like that is, you know, that is something that you're gonna notice is like your libido. I was proud of my 20-year-old self for putting that in there.
Okay.
Like,
Well,
haven't read this
I'm a 21-year-old self, so
Yeah.
I'm very proud of my sex scene. Well, not sex scene. My line of my porn star.
How do you know I
I'm
haven't
very
been
proud
paid
of
to do
that.
this? Yeah. How do you know I'm not a professional? There you go.
How,
Yes.
well, I'm not a professional at having so much libido.
Yeah, no.
Compare the two.
Fucking what? Wait, what was your character's name?
It was Ramadupa.
Ramadula. Yeah, fucking. I'm gonna ship Ramadula and Ruby Jane now. That's now canon.
Ramadou is Ramadou or Ramadou?
Ramadupa. Rama like the god Rama, and then Dupa means ass in Ukrainian. So he's like Rama's ass. But it's also like Ramadupa is like, it just sounds Indian.
It does, yeah. I thought for a second I thought it was Ramadou. It's like, oh wow. How did he get here?
Who's Ramadou?
The chap in Dawn Treader, the old chap.
Ramadou is the evil doppelganger of Scooby Doo.
Oh, that's
No, that's something different. I was thinking of the chap.
Yeah, I know. That was a joke.
Yeah.
Really?
It's probably what Scooby Doo is going to be named in Velma season 2.
Oh, that's gonna be trash. I'm so glad I'm not watching that.
It's somehow
I
it did well
can't
enough to
watch
get a second.
anything anymore. Like
One small thing. Lying in bed.
you're gonna fair enough.
Speaking of awfully written TV shows, I actually looked up what it would take to get my script submitted like as a pitch. Unfortunately, I need to pay a subscription in order to do that, so I decided not to. But I just thought, with all this writer's strike shit going on and all of this other bullshit, and like, why not? Like, clearly what I have right now is clearly a step above that in quality. So
Probably better than Rings of Power.
Oh, and
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, no. Like, I think my work, my writing is automatically better than Rings of Power.
Rings of Power season 2 is going to fall apart. Season 2 apparently is not going to have a script because of the writer's strike.
Oh, that is gonna be so freaking funny.
It might even be better. It might actually be better. It might just be like they let some people that actually like read the books and stuff go at it. Because the writers are all anybody striking is a freaking union commie, right? So like no commie is writing anymore, right?
Maybe.
Just get rid of the whole
Yuri,
problem.
I
is the
think you
commies.
and I think alike.
Yeah,
I think we'll get along very well.
The whole problem is the commies. But
Oh
anyway,
yeah, communist sucks.
no,
Razorfish
I'm gonna
comes
add
in to
communists
talk about
to this.
communism.
What's that?
All right.
Hey
All
Yuri,
right.
what's your Discord name?
Oh,
Great.
here. I'll at you.
Dude.
Yeah,
Exclamation
I'm
mark, all caps.
They changed me. They changed my name to Dude.
Yeah,
Because,
you can change
I
it back, but it sort of works.
I made Trip do a spit take over something I said. I forget exactly why, but that's where the name came from.
Is that I think I just pinged you. Is that you? Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
probably.
Okay, I'm gonna add you as a friend.
All right, sounds good, Noble Commando.
Yes.
No comment.
Okay, so your only comment, Balerion, was laying, not lying, or lying, not laying. Which one is it? I think I fixed it.
Lying in bed, yeah. I mean, that was the only problem I saw. It's a little hard to follow, but it's interesting. And the conceit. This chap is turned into his full land in the body of this other chap, and he's with these other people who. Did he get reincarnated or something?
Yeah, like maybe I should start it at like an earlier chapter if I'm gonna go reading through it. But he kind of got like his spirit went into the future, and then what was explained in this chapter to him was like they just grabbed a body off the ground on Mars and put him inside of it. Like
Okay.
a UN ship got nuked in orbit, and like there were casualties that drifted down to ground because like they had evacuation suits and everything. Like they were able to survive the atmosphere. They crashed in the ground. They were like half dead to dead, and then they did some shaman magic stuff to put this incorporeal soul that had been wandering around in the previous chapter into a body, and the body is Philip Carson Teague. And the story goes like a really weird direction. Like the whole thing is just really. I would love to get someone else's take on it. I've yet to get like a really. I think I am going to read it from this point. I think, if you have any questions about backstory.
Right. Actually, I have one more thing. Please
Yeah.
do not write in first person. I find it cringe.
Cringe. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's I only write in first person. How can I write?
You're gonna hate mine then.
Oh
Yeah.
no.
No, I don't think I only write in first. It's actually I play with the persons on this because like in the previous chapter when like Ramadupa gets zapped, everybody like the dust cloud that he had been kind of incarnated on, corporealized as, like goes poof, and then everybody breathes it in, and so like everybody's got a bit of Ramadupa in him, and that's actually how like he's actually seeing through other characters' eyes. So like in this chapter, like there was that little bit when Venetia was looking at him and he saw himself through her eyes. It's like everybody breathed in a bit of his like spirit, and it's I don't know. This was 10 years ago I wrote this, so
Very esoteric stuff.
exactly. I think it's gonna be good. I think the next chapter is gonna be like I feel like the earlier chapters, like I was bored with them, you guys were bored with them. This one, I'm like, what's gonna happen next? I don't know. Anyway, but I think cameraman, you didn't really give any feedback. But
I think it has a lot of potential so far.
all right, thank you. Anything that pops into your head, like what's the first thing, first image, first thing, anything that comes from like the story? Not to put.
I think the characters are fun. Character works fine. I think that there's some good room for improve for kind of increasing. I would say that I don't necessarily know what the conflict is, and I don't know if there's like a hook for me to get invested in quite yet.
Okay, yeah, that's something I've been bad at.
I also like the joke where it's like, what other language would it be? In French? I have this kind of like, it's more of like a joke thing, but I kind of have this like meme like hatred of the French where I just like to make fun of them and shit on them, and it to the point where when I'm writing a science fiction story in this universe, French will be a dead language. Where it's
because they try so hard to keep it. So like it's just gonna be Arabic. It's gonna be a dialect of Arabic. All right. Anyway, that's I guess that's my time.
Alrighty.
My turn. So for the people who weren't really here before, I might as well give you a recap of the story that I read last showcase. So the story that I'm writing is called Starlight. It's a science fiction story, and the premise is that it's a future world with where stars are dead, and it's narrated by a space explorer looking for his long lost best friend. At the end of the last section I read, he received a message from a group claiming to from a group of other explorers claiming to be from a space station that's connected to one of the last suns in existence. And the last line he said before was literally, "What the hell?" And so we're basically continuing off from there. So let's just go there. Okay, journal entry, day 81 of exploration, part 5. Nothing else to report. Journal entry, day 85 of exploration. I haven't written new entries in several days, but quite frankly, I have nothing else to say. Day 86 of exploration. Still waiting to be found by whoever sent that message. I doubt it's from Starlight Station, but it has to be from something. No new star updates, everything is still dead. Day 87 of exploration. Still nothing to report. Day 85 of exploration, day 88 of exploration, still nothing. Day 89 of exploration, still nothing. Day 90 of exploration, still nothing. Day 90 of exploration, still. Day 91 of exploration, nothing. Day 92 of exploration, still. Day 93 of exploration, nothing. Day 94 of exploration, I've begun writing less and less. It's hard to report. Day 98 of exploration, I got out of bed for the first time in 4 days. All I did was sit in. All I've done is sat in bed and listened to music. My food printer broke down and my oven is still on the fritz. I haven't eaten in so long, and the only thing I can do is sleep, which is even has its own problems. Sleep is borderline impossible on a ship with no gravity. I've had to tie myself to the bed in order to get something resembling a good night's rest. I sometimes wish I was able to stop floating and put my feet on the ground. Day 99 of exploration. The only thing to keep me in the right frame of mind is my music player, a little gift I got from Jacob years ago. As I'm writing this, the current song playing is 4 guys singing about the sun. I can't tell if that's an irony or coincidence. I can't exactly pin down their accents, but it sounds like something from Europe, a country that no longer exists. Time for bed. Again, nothing to report. Well, it was only inevitable I come across a ship out in space, and not too long afterwards, I received a call from its passengers. These were the same people who sent me those prior messages, and we chatted a bit. I began the conversation with a simple question. Okay, first things first, who the hell are you? His response was rapid, almost like he had a pre-written script. My name is Isaac Ashman, captain of the Starlight Voyager. I know you're confused, but if you read our prior message, you already know who I am. I read it, but I don't buy it. I suspected you wouldn't trust us. You seem pretty prepared for this. Well, that's my job. I see. Even before becoming an explorer, I've been able to smell lies. Whether it be bullies me and Jacob would face as kids, or criminals I would encounter during my travels. How do I know you're from Starflight? I understand trust can be difficult in times like this, but I think I have a compromise we can come to. Curious, I decide to entertain this idea. Enlighten me. Well, we'll let you hold on to your gun, and in return, we'll give up all our guns. Nobody will get hurt, and you'll have all the power. I thought about it for a bit. This could be a trap, and there could definitely be, and there would be some consequences for me. Why would anyone in this part of space give up their guns? But still, if these guys are raiders, it would seem strange. If these guys are raiders, it would seem strange for them to surrender their weapons. Maybe they're legitimate. The captain spoke up, bringing me out of my thoughts. So, do you have an answer? And to my better judgment, my response was yes. I can smell a trap, so just in case anything happens, I'll be hiding my pocket knife. Nobody would be willing to help strangers out in the void. Most people I've come across are always willing to kill, steal, and betray each other. If I don't continue writing in this journal, I'll be dead. After parking my ship right next to theirs, I got into my spacesuit, resistant to both extreme heats and colds, stepped out of my door and floated over to them. Their door opened quickly, and I entered almost instantly, noticing their ship's lack of gravity. As I removed my helmet, I was greeted by the crew. "Welcome to the Starlight Voyager. Hope you have a pleasant stay." Cut the crap. Make sure to remember the deal. He paused and soon responded as quickly as he could. "Ah, yes, I remember." He turned over to his men, 5 of them present at the time, and gave them an order. "Men, throw your weapons out the airlock." His men were visibly confused. Even one of them, a very old teen, thought of questioning him, but soon an older man placed his hand on his shoulder, advising him to not question the captain. Following this, I was guided to my quarters and left there for the rest of the night. I'll continue updating things as time goes on. Ever since boarding the ship, day 105 of exploration. Ever since boarding their ship, I've been given a shocking amount of freedom and autonomy. Instead of being confined to my quarters, they let me traverse the ship. I expected my door to be locked, but to my surprise, it opened easily. I still don't trust them, since they could just be trying to gain my trust. But it's interesting to see them trust me that much. I talked a bit to some of the crew members, and they didn't seem like the criminal types. Despite the captain trusting me, none of the crew members trust me. The crew trusted me at all. I guess they were only following the captain's orders. I guess the feeling was mutual. Unlike the captain, who told me his name, none of the crew gave me such information. Like the captain, they all claimed to be citizens of Starlight Station. Even telling me about its founder, a woman named Ariel. Despite even if everything they say is a lie, I might as well learn from them. During one of my travels through the ship, I noticed a locked door at the end of a hallway, the same hallway that my room was in. I'll check it out later. Day 106 of exploration. What could they be hiding? Could they be hiding in that room? It's maybe it's a stash of weapons, or some stolen goods. I'll have to wait to make sure. Day 107 of exploration. Okay. I know they've helped me quite a bit during my travels, and I know they claim to be allies. But there's no reason why I should trust them. They could obviously be criminals, or some other group threatening to rob me. They could be trying to steal my ship for all I know. Day 108 of exploration. Okay, I'm going to try to pick the lock on that door and see what's in the room. It could be anything. I'm going to try to make sure that they aren't planning anything against me. Day 109 of exploration. Okay. Now I am really pissed off. It turns out they were hiding an entire stash of weapons right behind my back. I'm either going to confront the captain about this, or try to do something. I don't fucking know. Okay, we'll have to see what happens next. Signing off. Day 110 of exploration. I was recently confronted about the open door to the weapon stash by one of the crew members. Realizing that he might be onto me, I grabbed my gun and shot him in the face. Realizing that I had made up my mind, I decided to walk through the building, killing every one of the crew members I could find, including the captain. Looks like I was right. They really were raiders. Now on the plus side, I at least have a new ship, one that's even bigger than my old one. Welp, I'm going to take a look at some of the messages on the ship's computer and see where they lead to. Again, signing off. Day 111 of exploration. Message to Starlight Voyager. How is your current mission? The Starlight Station has been waiting on reports from you, but you haven't updated us in days. Hopefully you'll be able to come up with some new information, and we'll see you return shortly. Ariel and everyone else has been waiting for you, and maybe at the sun, and maybe and we're hoping that you'll return shortly. Signed, Starlight Station. Day 111 of exploration, part 2. Fuck. And that's the end.
Okay.
Very good. Actually, so this is like, so I kind of get what you're going for. It's kind of like the Andy Weir's The Martian. And so, like, the first-person narration kind of makes sense because it's an actual, like, Captain's Log. Okay, I like that better than just having it be first-person for the sake of it, because then that actually makes sense for why it would be first-person. I don't know. So, honestly, I felt like, no, I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything about the main character. I couldn't really describe. Like, if you asked me to like name his characteristics, I don't think I could do it.
Yeah.
I think I'd be like, well, he kills pirates.
I sort of went like this is sort of the second half of like, since I read the beginning of the chapter where I revealed stuff like his name, backstory, and job. Like, I revealed that type of stuff.
Right. And so this is just, I don't know. But even then, I can't really pick up on, oh, he's, like, is he resourceful? Is he, like, I guess the only thing I can say is that he's paranoid.
Yeah, that's sort of the trend I'm going for, is that he's not trustworthy.
Is
or
that,
he's not
or that he's
trusted.
paranoid. But that's about it. Like, he's paranoid, but he's like, I don't know what other, like, personality traits or, like, characteristics, like, I would describe him as other than that. And that's kind of a problem when he's the only, like, major character, like, that you actually, like, as of right now.
The end was interesting. It was certainly made an impact. It's like, whoa, what just happened? Something must have just happened. So you do have a bit of a cliffhanger thing going there.
Yeah, and so can I tell you like what that whole cliffhanger was? So it turns out these guys weren't space pirates. They were actually from another space station that rescue people out in space. And those weapons he found were simply just reserve weapons they keep just in case of an emergency, like an attack from actual space pirates. So he just slaughtered 5 innocent people. And now he's receiving a message from the guys who they were employed by, and that's probably going to cause conflict.
Let this be a lesson to us all.
Agreed.
That's kind of unfortunate. That's I feel like that's kind of realistic, though. I feel like he probably has been like you said it's been like day what 100.
He's been out in, like 100. It's like,
yeah,
I think like
you gotta like
100
with no human contact. All of a sudden, you just find these people. You have no idea who they are or what they are, like what their like motives are. Yeah, of course you're gonna be like kind of like scared of them and a little bit psychotic. So you might like. It makes sense for why I can understand that. So yeah,
yes.
You know what? I take it back. The more I think about it, the more his actions give a lot about his character and what he's going through. So good job. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
alrighty. So Balerion, are you finished eating, or shall I do stuff for you?
I'm finished eating. Let me see. I'm trying to figure out where to start here. Because it's been a while since I read this thing. I guess I'll just read at the end and see what happens. Okay, the backstory, because this is from the serious one, the Lady Margaret one. Okay. This is all located in a fictional country, an empire, the Empire of Sandaran. And the emperor has killed the fathers of a couple of the main characters, Lady Margaret and her friend Barama. They've both had their parents killed, their fathers killed. And Lady Margaret also has a thing. She's trying to improve the law of the peasantry and of slaves. So they've sent a request to the emperor that basically making certain requests requesting certain reforms, and also requesting that their parents, their fathers, be brought home to be buried in the graveyard with the rest of the family. So her castle is called Serthatan. So let's see what happens here. How much of this will be intelligible, I don't know, but we'll find out. Lady Margaret had returned to Serthatan at last. As her husband Edrion's bodyguard, Malwa, rowed the boat containing Margaret, Edrion, Barama, Margaret's sister Adri, and their servants Varain and Thavda up the river Dathlon, Margaret's mind was a whirlpool of emotions. Yes, she was home, but neither of her parents was there to welcome her. Her mother, it was true, was buried in the mausoleum, but her mother had also charged her with a mission, and she must not fail her memory. As to her father, who was now buried far from home and in dishonor, well, he would not have wanted her to fail either. She would need to recover his remains and take them home at some point. But now, it had been so long. Margaret and Adri had lived almost a year in the province of Darzaz, and had then spent a difficult month on the homeward journey. Their provisions were not sufficient for their journey, and the area was little peopled, so they had needed to do a fair amount of hunting. It would have been easier if they could have gone through the city of Tharmalon, the capital of the province of Ichalamu. But for obvious reasons, they preferred not to. The last thing they needed was to get apprehended by customs officials in the city and possibly imprisoned or, worse, sent to the capital. Instead, they had ridden to the town of Anathos by pony. Margaret and Barama had ridden their horses through the forest paths, as there were no paved roads outside of the towns in these parts. Oft they must dismount and lead their horses by foot. They had had to keep a constant lookout for robbers and worse, and had sometimes had to leave the path altogether. At the town of Anathos, they had finally been able to hire a boat and had rowed it the rest of the way, to their great relief, for they were spent. For the time being, their friend Muku had remained in Darzaz. He would fall in due course, as he did not trust the Duke of Darzaz. But they had thought it wise not to travel in a large group, for fear of attracting unwanted attention. The journey was grueling and dangerous enough as it was. As Margaret approached the castle, the Castellan Azergan went out in a candlelit boat to meet her, along with the treasurer and the chancellor. The two boats then passed together under the castle of Tserthaton and came to the mooring place by the underground quay. As Margaret dismounted, an orchestra standing upon the quay played a fanfare on drums and trumpets, and a small chorus sang a song of praise. Margaret bowed her head in thanks. She didn't really much care for this sort of thing, but knew that a lady must never be ungracious to her people. "You have been missed, my lady," said the Castellan, "and unfortunately I must give you unpleasant tidings. We have been importuned in your absence by one Burunu, who claims to be your husband and therefore the lawful lord and count of Tserthaton. We had to inform him that we would need corroboration from you. Is what he says correct?" Margaret clapped her hands in indignant denial. "No, he is not my husband. I am married to the Lord Edrion of the Dukes of Darzaz, Count Consort." He waved in the direction of Edrion, who looked distracted. He was probably thinking about the local cuisine and wondering whether he would be able to enjoy it. Preferably inside. Half a second here. Sorry, I lost my place. Preferably inside the castle. No picnics, please. It was a pity that Margaret seemed to like them. The Castellan bowed his head. "Great one is welcome," he told Edrion, who, belatedly aware of the conversation, made a flaccid gesture of acceptance. The Castellan then turned back to Margaret and inquired, "Will Great One be invested?" It was traditional for each count or countess upon assuming office to receive the blessing of the priest and priestess, if any, and then process to the 4 gates, west, east, north, and south, sprinkling the sacred water of the river Dathlon upon the ground. "My lady will do," said Margaret with a smile, "and the investiture can wait. I have an announcement to make concerning urgent matters. Call all the high officials of the castle, along with the chief peasant of each village. See to it that a notary is on hand to take down what I have to say, and have copies made and read in every village and to all the servants in the castle, and sent to all the vassals." Will my lady not rest and bathe first?" said Varain, curtsying. "And you have not dined today." "This will not wait," said Margaret. "My Lord Chancellor, please have an announcement made and immediately sent out to the aforementioned parties." The Chancellor bowed politely, but looked as if he were trying to keep from rolling his eyes. "My lady, may your servant suggest that it will take a number of days to gather together all the officials and chief peasants. First they must be summoned, and then they must prepare themselves for the journey hither. Great One would be wise, indeed, if she were to rest and bathe and dine during that period." This did not please Margaret at all, nor did she like the Chancellor's tone, which, however courteous, made it sound as if he thought he were addressing a child. "What are all these idlers going to do that's taking that long? What are all these idlers going to be doing that takes so long?" he fumed, making an effort to keep from pounding her fists. "Peasants don't have carriages or litters, my lady, and most don't have horses. said Malwar, bodyguard. He was known as the Glyptodont for his toughness, and he tended to be blunt even in speaking to superiors. They have to walk, using feet, their own feet. Margaret didn't take it amiss, for she liked the Glyptodont's gruff manner. "You're right, of course," she said, softening. "Even nobles may have trouble traveling through the forest, as I have had occasion to learn. I'm too impatient. This is vitally important, and who knows what the Emperor is up to." "In the harem, probably," said Barama. "Very well," Margaret told the Chancellor. "Set it for 1 week from today, after breakfast, at the 6th hour of the morning," by which she meant a little after 10 o'clock. The Chancellor bowed again and left to carry out her orders. "What is my lady going to talk about?" asked the Castellan. "My response to Exalted's murder of my noble parents," replied Margaret. I hope it will not come to war," said the Castellan. "I had enough of that in my youth." "So do I," said Margaret. "My lady will do what she must, and great one Edrion, of course," said the Castellan. Edrion bowed, nodded, which was their way of shrugging, and nibbled at another beech fruit. It was middling, he thought. I fear we shall rue this," concluded the Castellan. "I fear we shall rue whatever choice we make," said Margaret, "now and in the years to come." Now and in the years to come. Few choices remain to us, none good. Why, I had best follow the counsel of my lords and bathe and dine. Edrion brightened up at the mention of dining. Margaret waited impatiently for the appointed day of her speech to arrive. In the meantime, her officials brought her up to date on everything that had befallen in her absence. She was particularly interested in the state of food supplies and the castle's siege readiness. In addition, she made a concerted effort to study the archives of her estates in order to govern well. She also worked on polishing her speech. She was tempted to deliver it extempore, but had been persuaded to pretty it up first, with a view towards keeping it within the bounds of the politically possible. Not that she had any... Not that she had any intention of sticking slavishly to a script, and she was constitutionally incapable of doing so in any case. During the very little spare time she allowed herself, she got reacquainted with her pet, Moraishu, or she visited the library. Finally, the day dawned, when her officials and a decent number of the chief peasants were gathered together in the courtyard of Mercy. Lady Margaret came out onto, pardon me. Sorry. Sorry. Margaret came out.
Apologizing makes it worse, just so you know. Every time you say sorry, I get more angry and more disappointed in you, Valeria.
Yeah, true.
Oh, it's over?
I'm teasing.
No, it's not quite over yet.
No, I'm sorry. I broke decorum.
Okay.
No, you're fine. Let's see. Finally, the day dawned. When her officials and a decent number of the chief peasants were gathered together in the courtyard of Mercy, Lady Margaret came out onto the balcony of largesse with Edrion. Barama and Margaret's sister Adri, and stood above them. The beeches were blooming early, a pretty sight for a somber day. Margaret wore her coronet, shaped like a saber-toothed tiger's head, but smaller and more delicate, and the comital necklace, which was of gold and likewise sported a saber-toothed tiger's head of emerald and sapphire. She held in her hand the parasol of office, designed to look like a small blue and green palm tree, capped by the family flower, the peace flower. After everyone had bowed to the images of Karat, Rue, and the crepe myrtle of mercy, Margaret leaned onto the railing and spoke. "Greetings, friends," she began. "I rejoice to meet you again, although it grieves me that I must do so as Countess. I would rather my gracious father were here in my stead. The news has doubtless reached you long ago of my father's unjust execution, and that of my uncle, the Count Garawada. You have also heard the Governor Burunu's claim to be lord of this castle, a claim with no basis, for he is neither a member of our house nor whatever he may wish, married to one. I come to my title then at a difficult time. My father is not here, his soul having been gathered to the ancestors in heaven, and his body having been buried in alien soil. Our people face threats from without, for the peace with Exalted is broken." Some of the vassals frowned at this, but Margaret raised a hand. "In addition, there has been hardship among the poor of the empire. The peasants labor under grinding burthens, made harsher by the exactions of their creditors, and many have been reduced to slavery. We are all concerned that our families are torn apart by the licentiousness of the court and that the young are preyed upon. Our neighbors to the north have also fallen into slavery on account of the unceasing wars at our borders. If Blessed Muku were here, he would remind me of the passage I remember reading, where it is written, 'Authority is founded in justice, and power must serve righteousness.' But the same wisdom is told by the old story of the orphan kitten and the crow who succored it. I shall be that crow and take it for my device and my model. The weak are left defenseless, just as the kitten was, but I shall protect them. I have sworn and do now swear that I shall, to the best of my power, right these wrongs. I know that there is little I can do outside my own estates, but what I can do, I will do. So hear now my oath." Many of the lords raised an eyebrow or two at this, possibly wondering what on earth had entered their liege lady's mind. Margaret was too caught up in her own rhetoric to pay attention, to notice, but Adri wondered what they were thinking. "In my first act as Countess," Margaret continued, "I swear to liberate all the slaves on my estates, who will be free to return to their families or to remain as free laborers, according to their wishes. I swear that I shall ease the exactions upon the peasantry. I shall defend my people against any unjust and illegal exactions and invasions. I shall obtain justice insofar as lies within me for my father and for my friend, my cousin Baramas, that at least their reputations may be restored. I also swear to do what I can for the empire as a whole. I shall petition Exalted to end debt slavery, pardon our friend Blessed Muku, ease the exactions on the peasants, abolish the harem, and free the Saranjis, the concubines. I swear to carry out these things in the name of Nyaja, the creator, Ikri, the lawgiver, Nihandra, defender of the weak and innocent, Ishtaka, the mother, the sacred form, Ru, the voice of love and compassion, Jamarad, the earth, sustainer and nourisher, Angara, the sacred river, Izaharum, the enlightenment, and Mindaraj, giver of tranquility and of tranquility and peace. Okay, and Dera Hacho Anmindon Monan Kargyeso, which is Old Minderite for I'll battle against the foe for a free people. And that's that.
That's it.
Yep, that's all.
God damn it. Don't use fantasy names. I can't keep track of Gondorish and blah 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 and Herpelderp, whatever the fuck their names. I can't remember. Yeah. Like, I can, like, I don't know. I've watched enough anime to where I can remember Japanese names. But it's just like when you make up fucking weird ass fantasy names, I just, like, I can't.
Fucking weeaboo.
I am a weeaboo. My entire fucking story was inspired by fucking anime.
Lovely.
Yeah, well, the names all have a basis in the language and the history and the culture. So if it's easier if you've been following it for a while, but of course I haven't read it from it for a while, so that makes it harder to follow. Not to mention there are a lot of names in this thing.
I also don't watch these writer showcases ever. I only participate when I'm actually on them. I probably should watch these writer showcases more. But when I checked to stream to make sure, like earlier today, because Dunn said he was going to be streaming at 3, I assume that was 3 Eastern. I checked his channel and it didn't see the stream, but I realized I'm not subscribed to Dunn. No wonder I haven't been catching any of these streams.
Yeah, I mean that helps. There should be a notification in the Discord when he's ready to stream. And
I usually ignore red pings from servers that I'm not active on.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think that the reason why he's not participating is because he's actively decided not to participate in certain things. So
right, I'm just not. I do usually I want to participate in these movie nights, but they're always like 8 p.m. Mountain Time, and then by the time that's 10 p.m. where I am.
Yeah,
and
they're too late for me too.
Yeah, so I was just like, I don't want to start a movie at 10 p.m.
Yeah, no, it is easier, as the fanatical tactician says, it's easier to read them than to listen to them. It's true.
Yeah.
That's why I would try to explain who people were when I was talking.
Right. Even then, like when I was watching Naruto, I had trouble remembering a lot of characters' names. I'd be like, wait, which one's Neji? Which one's Shikamaru? Which one's Shino? That was something that. But even me, like watching a lot of anime and remembering a lot of Japanese names, it still took a lot of time because there was just so many characters. But yeah. Let's see. I wish I could give you more actual Oh, I can't. So I mean, like it was a little bit hard for me to follow because the names were just weird. I know Margaret, I think, is the main character.
Yes.
It sounds like it's very focused on medieval politics.
Yeah, kind of.
And it's based off of a random fantasy land that doesn't exist. So.
Well, it's not random necessarily, but it doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's. Right, it's this just it's just magical. I can't tell where this is supposed to be based off. Is this supposed to be based off of Europe? Is this supposed to be based off of Asia? Is this supposed to be based off of the Middle East? Is this supposed to be? I think it's supposed to be Europe. I think it's supposed to be Europe.
Not exactly. I mean, because the way I've got it is the continent is located somewhere between. It's on a continent that's located somewhere between the Americas and Asia. Well, obviously, the Earth would have to be much bigger. I'm not sure how that would work out.
One of my fantasy stories is based on the one setting we don't really see in high fantasy.
Hmm.
You know which
It's just
one?
not
America.
like the Aztecs and Incas and
Oh
stuff.
no, I mean like colonial America,
Oh, okay.
like American history.
Fair enough.
I think I actually came up with an idea to base off like a fantasy world off of colonial America. It was part of like one of Dunn's old like writing challenges. Like you had to make a
Mhm.
fantasy setting around the fur trade, and I thought I'm gonna make a western, and it's gonna have like all of this shit. And I had all this lore written out, but I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't come like that's a weakness I have when I have like come up with fantasy settings or like sci-fi settings. Like I have this whole sci-fi setting in my head like about it's the one where like French is the dead language and like the Japanese are like a space faction and they use katanas. Uh right. So I have that setting and I don't know any characters. I don't know like I have all these factions, all this lore, all this history, all these firearms, this technology, how it works. I don't know any characters or any motivations or anything like that. It's just a setting with no people in it. But yeah, no.
Cool.
Um
Let's see. Let me see.
So this
Do I
isn't a
have?
fantasy land. I assumed it was a magical fantasy land that just
I
like
mean,
on
it's
a completely different planet.
it's a fantasy land in the sense that it's made up.
But there isn't really magic as far as I am aware.
There's not like there
It's not
hasn't
like
been.
Tolkien. It's
Yeah,
not like
there isn't any
Tolkien.
actual magic. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I
It's
can share the map. There is a map. As a matter of fact.
I think a
Um,
good comparison actually would be what's the there's a book that's just kind of it's just off of a made up world that's a made up secondary world, but it doesn't have magic. It's just kind of an excuse for stories. I think it's the Thief of Edis, I believe it's called.
The Thief of what?
The Thief of Edis, I think it was called.
I think I might have read that. Is there are these like did they like did like the queen or something like hire these like guys to steal something from a tomb or something?
Yeah, yeah, the
Uh
thief.
When you
Yeah, it's the
when you did
thief.
you say Venice like in Italy or something
Edis.
else?
Edis. It's a secondary world, but there's no fantasy.
I wish I remembered any of the characters of this book so that way I could confirm, "Oh yeah, we read the same book." But yeah.
trying to
Yeah, I
share
got
my
as far as
screen.
book 3, and then I think I got as far as like the first chapter of 4, and then I just said, I'm okay.
Right.
I'm trying to share my screen here, but running into technical difficulties here. Running into technical difficulties.
While he's doing that. Hey Dunn, do you think my story was good or bad?
I think that's well. Ultimately, it's a script, but I would say that it is middle of the road.
You give it
Kind
a
of.
5 out of 10.
Yeah, I would say there's nothing terribly wrong about it, but the secondary issue is that it doesn't have a hook to stand out from the press. There isn't really a mystery. The characters, they're fine, but there isn't really an intrigue or an ongoing type story that I can get my teeth into. Where even if I were watching this as just a regular TV show, I probably be like, it's fine, I
Yeah.
suppose. But
Yeah.
there isn't really
Right.
a
I don't know. I guess the three main like things I wanted to focus are on like the crime solving bit of it, the character dynamic of how these two characters where they like kind of different, but they kind of play off each other and they're kind of like a buddy cop situation. And then I also wanted it to have the action scenes and have it so where I put a lot of detail into how like car chase works. So for example, in the car chase, where like at the front like dampener or whatever breaks.
Part-
Originally that was the front axle, but then I looked up, does the Oldsmobile Bravada have a solid rear axle or blah blah blah. It's just I know it's the solid's like a bunch of techno babble, but I looked up to make sure, could this actually happen? Could this like part of the car actually break like this, the way I describe it? And it turns out no, it can't, because it's not the way I was thinking it was designed. So I had to change it so that it breaks in a different way, so it actually makes sense.
Pardon me.
Sorry.
I'm gonna have to go on my walk, and I can't. I don't seem to be able to share the map at the moment, but I'll share it I'll drop it in. Where would be a good place to drop it in the Discord?
Writing discussion.
General
Writing discussion.
General conversation is fine.
Okay, I'll drop it in there. There is a map. So before I run off on my walk, does anyone also have any quick comments?
I think it was good. It's good furthering of the story, and I'm interested to see how things shape up between Margaret and her antagonist, and as well as kind of the I guess we're kind of in a Magna Carta type situation.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Yeah,
Wait.
it's not a bad analogy.
By the way, Noble,
Yeah.
I thought of an idea for your story that I'm not sure, like, it's based on that backstory for one of the characters you said you scrapped.
Wait, the ex-porn star thing?
Which one was that? It was
Ruby Jane.
What if, like, when they walk into the apartment?
When they walk into the little house, like, and it's all pornography, like, the reason why she panicked when, like, Mia's like, hey, this girl kind of looks like you, is because she thought, oh, shit, that actually is me. So she runs over to check, like, to make sure, like, that Mia doesn't find out that, oh, she was a porn star, because that's supposed to be kind of, like, a secret. It's supposed to be, because Dunn said it was cringe. So I decided not to focus on it, to imply it, but not outright state it. So that's why she panics, like, oh shit, somebody's gonna find out my secret. And it's like, oh, never mind, it's just a girl that looks like Ruby Jane, not actually Ruby Jane. So that's the other thing. And then, yeah, the implied that, oh, she is a professional at sex because she's a porn star.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I did manage to start after all.
But yeah, and then Dunn is like, oh, but they don't have enough backstory. They need to. Well, they do actually have enough backstory, but it's not the kind of backstory you're thinking of. But they don't have. They need more the backstory to be a part of the plot, and it's just like, okay, but you told me that was cringe. So which is it?
I didn't say it was cringe. It was just that it's hard to take seriously.
Oh right, yes, yeah, right, right. But having read it, would you take it seriously now?
I think that the way that it was presented was tactful and actually was fine. And I would say that it works. I think that having that be her like defining characteristic would have been odd, but you did not do that, which I think was so it worked out fine.
Right.
So.
Like it plays a part into her character. That's why she's the more like sociable, like the more like talkative, and then the more like seductive like type. Is because that's kind of like it plays into her background a little bit more. Whereas Mia's more just confrontational. Yeah, fuck you, tell me what I want, or else I fucking beat the shit out of you. Because she's more of the tomboy type. And then that's kind of we're supposed to kind of like play off, like, yeah, that's kind of the idea. I don't actually have a backstory for Mia Washington other than the fact that she's from Boston. That's all I have. I can't think of one. I know I'm talking about my stuff, like when we should be talking about this stuff. I know I just kind of thought it's like, well, he's like fucking around with the map. I thought I'd ask more questions because I wanted to get some clarity a little bit.
I getcha.
There's just one question I still have for all of you.
What?
Never had so much libido.
Well,
That's-
clearly Ruby Jane is very horny. I never really described Jimmy as attractive either. She just like fucked him because, well, that's what she does, and she's like, yeah, let me fuck this guy because I want to get information from him, and I'm just gonna play nice. And I'm not saying he's unattractive either. He's probably very average looking. Also, this might piss you off. The name Randy Anderson, I got for them the name Brandon Sanderson because I hate how much you guys talk about Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, because he actually has talent and is decently successful as a self-made man.
I hear he's taking over for all the writers that are on strike.
He's probably,
imagine,
he's probably gonna finish Winds of Winter on behalf of George R.R. Martin.
Yeah, no, honestly, like he was a go-to for Jordan after he passed. Though whenever Jordan gets taken out,
That's funny though. Randy Anderson was named after Brandon Sanderson.
Yes,
I like that. I like it.
That's funny. That's so funny. He's good though.
I believe that. It's just pissed me off that like you guys like when I first read my story, you were like, guys, Brandon Sanderson. I've never fucking read Brandon motherfucking Sanderson. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
I think you're being a tad hyperbolic, but
I am being hyperbolic because it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Just inaccurate.
Oh
Honestly,
yeah, no,
I
but
think
that's kind of what it felt like. Is you guys just kept bringing up Brandon Sanderson and like, no, but you need to be like Brandon Sanderson. It's like God,
you do
fucking
need
damn
to be
it.
more like Brandon Sanderson. Like Brandon Sanderson, he stays to the point. You know, he's very focused.
And he does have a lot of guns in one of his trilogies.
Awesome, badass.
I was just thinking that it's highly digestible and demonstrates what you're looking for.
I did watch some of his stuff. I remember he talks about romance a lot, and that's kind of when I tune out a lot. It's just like, you know.
Well, the romance bits are not necessarily the best parts of his novels.
Like it's funny because the only romantic comedies I actually like are Japanese ones, like Kaguya-sama, Love is War, and Tomo-chan is a Girl. I fucking love those because those are funny and I laugh at them.
Weeaboo alert.
I am a weeaboo. How did you fucking know? Hi, I'm Noble. Nice to meet you.
You can tell from your voice.
I have the superpower to smell anyone who is a weeaboo.
Yeah. No, you're on the path becoming a furry, right? Like you've just got a little bit of the furry in the voice, but like the weeb is like very strong.
Oh no, look, I can't become a furry, otherwise.
You'll get
actually. Never mind. I had this funny lore bit at a sci-fi setting that I came up with. It's the same sci-fi setting I was talking about earlier, and I thought like, oh yeah, I made that up, and I was like, I would rather not tell you guys about that. Sorry. Yeah, no, but I hate furries. I think they're gross.
Fair enough. They are quite odd people.
I'm actually an armadillo, by the way.
Oh, really cool. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Well, neither did I.
I just love that.
Alrighty. Let me see.
Yeah, I may have to go on my walk now. Somebody's revealing. No revealing surprises here. He says. Okay, so I'm gonna have to run off on my walk. I'm sorry.
Hey, no worries. It's fine.
So, have a riot, everybody.
Will do.
All right. See you later. It was
Nice
nice talking to you. It was nice being on stream and people not bullying me every 24/7, dude. I am still terrified of Tarek.
Yeah,
He is
Tarek has
he,
his own sense of insecurity. Like he's way more insecure than you think. Like he
Uh,
overcompensates for it.
I would
Why he
firmly
let it-
disagree. I would
Oh
firmly
no,
disagree
you're
with that
falling for his
reading.
charisma. No, you're
like
falling for
when
his
Tarek is roasting when Tarek is roasting Replica, I'm laughing my ass off, and I'm like, dude, Tarek is such a giga chad. He's a badass. I want to be exactly like him. And then when he's roasting me, it's like, God damn it, Tarek, I hate you, but I still want to
Speaking
be
of
like
which,
you because
I'm gonna have
you're.
to meet this. I'm gonna have to meet this Replica individual. He sounds fascinating.
Oh, he is. He is quite fascinating.
Just watch any of our
What are some
streams
of
or
his
hit.
takes?
Tarek has the same kind of psychological issue as Andrew Tate. And Andrew Tate is extremely insecure. That's what
Based on
drives
what
him.
I've heard, based on what I've heard
Tariq
about
is
Replica, he sounds
driven by his
pretty similar to
insecurity.
someone
And I'm
else
not
I
saying that as a
know.
negative thing. I'm not trying to I'm critiquing him, but not in like a critical way. I'm not trying to criticize.
I think that you are way off base.
Maybe I don't know him as well as you. I've had my interactions
just
with
like-
him, and he just reminds me of the guys where it's like, oh, everything has to be like. I don't want to say about him, but it's like he's the guy, right? Like, Anyway.
So I met based on what I've heard about Replica, he sounds similar to another guy I know.
Speaking of Replica, Dunn, did I ever tell you that I roasted Replica so hard in a debate, and I trolled him so hard that he blocked me on Discord and Steam and left every single mutual server that we were a part of.
He's also left every mutual server that he's on with me, other than Script Corners, and I think he's actually forgotten that I'm on Script Corners because he's very absent-minded.
Who's this Replica guy?
He's a man whose takes are some of the strangest I've seen, even stranger than yours.
Like what?
Well, for one thing, he thinks that 12 Years a Slave is left-wing propaganda.
It's not too far off.
No, it's based on a book of an actual man's life, and it's a fairly accurate adaptation of this man's life by all accounts. His main argument
but the release of it, the purpose of it, like the mechanisms around it, like it got made for that purpose, right? Like everything we learn about slavery is propaganda. History is propaganda. You can't have history that's not.
History is written by the victor.
Exactly, like Norm Macdonald said.
Or I was quoting Captain Price.
Oh yeah, no, but Norm Macdonald's like, oh, funny thing. I was reading the old history the other day. It turns out the good guys won every time. What are the odds?
The other thing I know about him is that he apparently likes Zack Snyder or something.
The main thing I don't know. I think he says that people are too hard on Zack Snyder and loves George Lucas, like George Lucas is a god or something. If you just say,
right, yeah, that he probably that is something similar. I know a guy who tried saying that Zack Snyder is the next George Lucas.
Actually, should we call it quits here and move over to the Discord?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I just realized we were still rolling, and we were just having this conversation.
Well, I mean, at least we didn't get any off-color topics.
Fair enough. If you would, yeah. I haven't read my stuff yet, but I think I'll just wait till another time to do it. Since
you were also going to present?
I always presented these things.
I didn't know. I was only on here once, and I think we ran out of time the first time, and you didn't present on that time either.
We've never run out of time when Noble wasn't here.
Well, I have a bit of a busy day ahead of me. I have a friend that I need to help out with, and then I need to go help my sister with her trash because I'm significantly taller and stronger than her, so I can actually reach the lip of the trash can that she needs to dispose of it with.
And Mormonism is the religion of family.
Indeed. All right. Well, we will call it good for today. Thank you all for coming. Adios.